Welcome to Iodine for Beginners, a practical guide to rebuilding health one drop at a time. Introduction. Welcome to the guide nobody gave you, but probably should have. This isn't a fear-mongering rant, and it's definitely not a just trust the experts a lecture. It's the thing we read after feeling like garbage for way too long, after trying too many supplements, and after realizing that maybe, just maybe, our body isn't broken, just undersupported, overtoxic, and severely misinformed. This book exists because a lot of people are quietly struggling. Struggling to understand why they're tired, cold, foggy, puffy, anxious, hormonal, or just feeling off. The blood work is a normal. The doctor says everything looks fine, but our daily outlook says otherwise. And so here we are. Iodine. The mineral we've heard terrifying things about. The one they say is a toxic in high doses, or only needed in trace amounts. We've probably been warned to avoid it entirely if we have a thyroid issue. Funny how nobody warns us that we used to get way more of it in our food before the chemical industry hijacked our salt shaker and replaced it with bleached, bromide-laced garbage. This guide is for the skeptics. The thinkers. The people tired of health advice that changes every 6 months depending on which pharmaceutical company sponsored the study. We're going back to basics, cellular mechanics, nutrient logic, and a touch of common sense. My name is Micah Coffey. I run Iodine. Come and help run one of the largest iodine groups on the internet, Iodine for Beginners. I've seen tens of thousands of people try iodine, some carefully, some like a cannonball into a kiddie pool, and I've made it my mission to help people start smart and stay sane. I walked into this in a very similar way you are, with a lot of the same questions and hurdles. In the pages ahead, we'll talk about what iodine is, why our body needs it, why most people are low, and how to safely start bringing it back into our lives without losing our minds, our sleep, or our thyroid. Let's rebuild this machine, one drop at a time. Chapter 1. What is iodine, and why the heck haven't we heard the truth? Iodine is not a supplement. It's not a fad. It's not just that stuff they use to sterilize wounds or what's in salt, right? Iodine is a necessity. A fundamental, UN-optional, molecular workhorse our body depends on every day. And if we're not getting enough, our cells act like cars running low on oil, grinding, sputtering, overheating, and eventually breaking down. Let's clear this up right now. Iodine is not just for the thyroid. It's linked to IQ. It's used in every gland, in every layer of immune defense. It interacts with hormones, brain chemistry, detox systems, and more. And no, that trace amount in our table salt isn't enough. So what exactly is iodine? Chemically, it's a halogen, like chlorine, fluorine, and bromine. But unlike those toxic hooligans, iodine is the only one our body actually needs. It's the benevolent sibling of the halogen family. Problem is, those toxic ones, fluoride in our drinking water, bromide in our bread, chlorine in our shower, compete with iodine at the cellular level. They hog the parking spots meant for iodine, then sit there doing absolutely nothing helpful. Yup, our cells might be occupied by the metabolic equivalent of unemployed squatters. And iodine doesn't just slide into place. The receptors it needs are often clogged with imposters, fluoride, bromide, and chlorine, thanks to years of exposure. It has to shove its way back in, displacing the junk that's been holding the spot. But that's a detox story for another chapter. Right now, let's get grounded. Elemental iodine. This is the form that stains our skin and smells like antiseptic. It's the version that freaks out pharmacists and purifies water in emergencies. Potassium iodide. This is the water-soluble form that dissolves into the bloodstream more easily. It's what's added to salt, in tiny amounts, and used in Luggle's solution. Nascent iodine, marketed like it's magic. It's usually just a highly diluted, electrically activated form. Some people love it, some find it weak. Either way, it's still iodine. I tend to recommend this one because it helps us ease into iodine in a much more balanced way. In the real world, our body doesn't ask whether we used Nascent or Luggles or some exotic underwater kelp tincture. It just needs iodine atoms to do the job. Chapter 2. The War on Iodine. Welcome to Idiocracy. If iodine is so essential, we'd think it would be easy to get. On every grocery store shelf. In 10 different forms. With doctors recommending it left and right. Instead, it's locked up, heavily restricted, and labeled by the FDA as illicit chemical, a substance suspected of being used to make meth. No evidence. No trials. Just suspicion. And that suspicion is enough to make iodine harder to get than some prescription meds. Meanwhile, actual poisons, like fluoride, a known neurotoxin, are being pumped into municipal water supplies with government approval. But iodine? The element our glands, our brains, our mitochondria depend on? Better have a damn good reason for asking about it. This is where iodine helps us start to question reality. How did a nutrient so vital get demonized? How did we go from doctors prescribing iodine for everything from infections to fatigue, to being told it's dangerous in anything over trace amounts? The answer, as usual, lies in money, patents, and control. Iodine is cheap. It's effective. And it doesn't need a drug company to repackage it. That makes it a threat. So over time, the message changed. First it was, only take a little. Then, be careful if you have a thyroid issue. Then, it's dangerous. And finally, we suspect it's being used to make drugs. This isn't public health policy. This is narrative control. And it's working. Most people are terrified of iodine and have no idea why. So if you're holding this book and wondering whether you're crazy for questioning the official stance, good. That means you're still thinking. You're still free. And you're about to learn how to reclaim a part of your biology that was quietly stolen from you. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. Why we're all deficient. The collapse is cellular. Let's not sugarcoat it. More than 60% of adults in the US are living with at least one chronic illness. And that number climbs fast when we include those who are undiagnosed but not okay. We're talking fatigue, anxiety, autoimmune conditions, weight gain, brain fog, hormonal issues, digestive chaos, insomnia, and mood swings. Call it what you want. Modern life is a metabolic dumpster fire. But what if this isn't just about diet, stress, or bad luck? What if part of this collapse is tied to something as fundamental and neglected as iodine? Iodine deficiency is more than just a thyroid thing. It's a brain thing. A development thing. A decision-making thing. Low iodine has been strongly linked to lower IQ, especially during pregnancy and early childhood. But this doesn't just stop at birth. Ongoing deficiency affects mental clarity, focus, memory, and the ability to process complex problems. Now zoom out. We've got an entire society running low on this critical nutrient. And what do we see? Skyrocketing rates of mental health disorders. Violence and impulsivity at levels we can't explain away with video games. Widespread apathy and dependence on authority for basic thought. A terrifying willingness to trade personal freedom for the illusion of safety. We're watching a population get dumber, sicker, and more emotionally fragile, while pretending it's just bad luck or poor habits. Meanwhile, Nobody's asking if we've lost the biochemical foundation for thinking clearly in the first place. It's not just iodine, of course. But iodine is a trigger point. A spark. When it's missing, our cells lose access to the very signals that tell them how to detox, how to balance hormones, how to regulate the nervous system. Our body starts storing instead of clearing. Stress chemistry takes over. And our ability to function like actual humans starts slipping. We used to get iodine from food, from soil, from oceans. But now we get fluoride in our water, bromide in our bread, and chlorine in our showers. Our halogen receptors are hijacked. And when the receptors are jammed, our signal is lost. So yeah, the world looks like it's falling apart. Maybe it's not just political. Maybe it's not just spiritual. Maybe it's biological collapse at the root. A slow unraveling of brain chemistry, self-awareness, and basic metabolic logic. And maybe, just maybe, we can start stitching it back together. One drop at a time. Chapter 4. Getting Started. Unlocking the Machine. Here's the twist no one tells us. The miracles we might see when starting iodine aren't because iodine is some kind of magic cure. They happen because iodine is the key that unlocks dozens of nutrient systems that were stuck on idle. Iodine wakes things up. It doesn't fix everything. It lets the things we already have start working again. This is why we need to approach it with a plan. Because the power we wield with iodine is only as effective as the understanding we build alongside it. It's like flipping the breaker to a building that hasn't had power in years. If the wiring's not solid, things might spark, sputter, or blow a fuse. We start slow. We watch. We give our cells time to figure out what the hell is happening. When iodine enters the system, it begins reactivating detox pathways, hormone receptors, immune circuits, and cellular energy switches that have been dormant for decades. As those circuits light up, the nutrients we've been low on, or supplementing with without any noticeable effect, suddenly begin to function. That magnesium we've been taking? That vitamin C? Those B vitamins? They can finally plug into something. Because iodine turned the switch back on. But here's the deeper part. As we gain momentum, our understanding also improves. The deeper we go, the easier it gets to grasp how all of this fits together. Iodine isn't just waking up the body, it's waking up our intuition. Our connection to how we feel, what we need, and when we've had enough. So how do we get started? We'll break that down in the next chapter, piece by piece. But just know this, iodine works with the body, not for it. The better we support the whole system, the better the system supports us. Chapter 5. How to start iodine without ruining your week. Most people approach iodine like they just heard it's the last bus out of town, chugging doses way too high, way too fast, after decades, maybe generations, of deficiency. That's not a healing protocol. That's a metabolic car crash waiting to happen. Here's a sample 4-week planner to ease into iodine while supporting your system. Week. Focus. Action. 1. Hydration and salt. Daily unrefined salt plus a 1/4 teaspoon in water, 2x day. Track symptoms. Magnesium. Add magnesium, glycinate, malate, evening dose. 2. Selenium and vitamin C. Add selenium, 100 to 200 micrograms, vitamin C, 500 to 1000 milligrams. One at a time. Observe. Pause here. See how you feel for a few days. Adjust if needed. 3. First drop of iodine. Try 1 drop of 2% Luggles. Nothing else new this week. Note reactions. Track skin, sleep, mood, digestion. Hydrate, rest, salt load if needed. 4. Repeat or rest. If well tolerated, try 2 drops. If not, rest. Support with baths, food. This isn't rigid. If something hits hard, stay in that week longer. If you need to rest earlier, rest. No protocol is worth pushing through symptoms that are clearly red flags. I personally would take every other day off to really help ease into this. The smart way? One thing at a time. Start with the basics. Get salt and magnesium on board. Then maybe selenium. Then maybe vitamin C. See how that feels. Then 1 drop of iodine. Just 1. Not because it's weak, but because our system is. We're not trying to go from 0 to 1000 milligrams an hour. We're trying to teach our cells how to function again. And that takes communication, not force. This is what real healing looks like. Add one thing. Wait. Observe. Learn. If we tolerate it, we try 2 drops. Maybe next week. Or the week after that. Why the delay? Because real change takes time. Because our body is not a supplement bucket. Because every drop of iodine is potentially waking up 20 different processes that all need to coordinate. And time. We're not in a race. We're in a re-education program for our cells called Welcome to Earth. And the slower we go, the more we learn, the more we tune in, and the less we panic when something finally stirs up. The next chapter? How to tell when what you're feeling is healing, or just plain too much. Chapter 6. Detox or disaster? When a healing feels like a breakdown. Let's be honest, starting iodine can sometimes feel like we're either about to ascend to a new plane of existence, or die in a Walgreens parking lot. That wave of fatigue, the weird headache, the pressure in the chest, is it detox? Is it healing? Or should we actually call someone? Welcome to the chaos of cellular reboot. Here's the truth. Healing is messy. Especially when we've been running on backup systems, filled with junk, and suddenly the cleaning crew, Iodine, shows up with a flamethrower and a clipboard. Iodine doesn't just stroll into our system and hand out hugs. It's more like, oh hey, you've been storing bromide in your tissues for 20 years? Let's deal with that. Remember all that mercury from your grammars, fillings? That's gotta go. Why is there aluminum in your thyroid? These toxins don't quietly leave. They kick, scream, and often reroute through our skin, kidneys, lungs, or brain fog before exiting the building. Common detox reactions include headaches, nausea, metallic taste, brain fog, mood swings, skin breakouts, fatigue, weird pressure or tightness in the chest, bowel or bladder chaos. It's not easy to get all this stuff out. Sounds fun, right? But here's the difference between a detox reaction and an actual problem: context and timing. If we just started something new, like iodine, selenium, or vitamin C, and a day or 2 later our body goes full drama queen, chances are we're stirring the pot. If we ease up and the symptoms back off, then we're not dying. We're detoxing. If, however, things escalate sharply, don't resolve with rest or hydration, or feel genuinely scary, like chest pain, heart palpitations, or blacking out, don't be stupid. Seek help. Even smart people need air sometimes. That said, most of the time, we're not having heart attacks. We're having a biological house cleaning tantrum. It's the difference between a panic attack and a fire. We still feel the heat, but we're not burning down. So how do we ride it out without losing our minds? Pause. Don't panic. Take a day or week off from iodine. Support with unrefined salt, hydration, sleep, and magnesium. Track your symptoms. Write them down. See what patterns emerge. This can be a game changer. Don't overlook its simplicity. Add binders if needed. Charcoal, clay, chlorella. These can mop up some of the junk we stirred up. I don't use binders, but some people still need to mop up their gut a bit. Lower the dose. There's no badge for surviving 100 milligrams. Let the body speak. Detox is communication. Don't interrupt, interpret. Healing isn't always linear. It often feels like going backward. But detox symptoms are proof that the body is responding. And that's the first step toward rebuilding. Chapter 7. Cofactors, the bare minimum to not crash and burn. Let's clear something up. These cofactors aren't optional. They're not bonus upgrades. They're the bare minimum our nutrient engine needs in order to keep up with what iodine starts revving up. Iodine is a switch. A powerful one. It tells our cells to wake up, rebuild, detox, and get back to work. But without the parts, tools, and energy to do that work, we crash. We inflame. We spin our wheels and wonder why nothing's working. That's where cofactors come in. Here are the key ones. Magnesium calms the nervous system, supports over 300 enzyme systems, and helps prevent the twitchy, crampy chaos that comes from stirring things up. Selenium, critical for thyroid hormone conversion, glutathione production, and shielding tissues from the oxidative wave that iodine can trigger. Vitamin C, antioxidant support, immune function, detox helper, adrenal buffer. Unrefined salt, not just hydration but fuel for detox, hormone signaling, and getting halides out of the system. B vitamins, fuel for energy production and mental clarity, especially B2 and B3. We're not just trying to load up a supplement shelf. We're trying to give our cells the foundation they've been missing. Most of us have been low on these for years. Sometimes lifetimes. Our grandparents didn't have enough. Our food doesn't have enough. So when iodine wakes the body up, it's like turning the lights on in a building where no one's cleaned the place in decades. Without cofactors, things can get ugly fast. Some people take iodine and feel like a superhero. Others take the same dose and get wiped out. 9 times out of 10, the difference isn't luck, it's support. Did we prep? Are our minerals in place? Are we feeding the system, or just pushing even more stress? Cofactors aren't here to make iodine work. They're here because the body needs them, with or without iodine. But once iodine enters the picture, that need becomes non-negotiable. And no, your food does not provide enough of these other nutrients as you consume concentrated forms of the other more potent nutrients. So take them seriously. Start slow. Add one at a time. Don't just copy someone's stack off a forum, but do take notes on it. Feel it. Track it. Learn what your cells respond to. We're not just supplementing, we're building something. And this is the raw material we build with. Chapter 8. TSH Panic, when labs lie or just mislead. Let's talk about TSH, the lab number that somehow became the dictator of our thyroid destiny. We get our blood drawn, and a single number shows up on a chart, and suddenly we're being told our thyroid is underactive, overactive, or a fine even though most of us feel like hot garbage. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. It's made by our pituitary, not our thyroid. That's right, the number doctors obsess over isn't a measure of thyroid function. It's a measure of how loudly our brain is yelling at our thyroid to get its act together. Here's where it gets fun. When we start iodine, TSH often goes up. Not because our thyroid is failing, but because our body is trying to reboot decades of dysfunction and it needs to temporarily turn the volume up on the signal. It's like reactivating a crew that's been asleep in the server room since dial-up internet was cutting edge. This is normal. It's called a rebound. A recalibration. Hey, we're trying to build something in here a moment. But the average doctor sees a TSH above the reference range and immediately prescribes synthetic hormones. They don't ask why it's high. They don't ask if our free T3 or free T4 levels are stable. They don't ask if we just started iodine last week and our cells are learning how to speak thyroid again. They just panic and hand a prescription that might shut our own thyroid down even further. How to interpret TSH without losing your mind. TSH is a signal, not a verdict. It's one piece of the puzzle, not the whole story. Free T3 and free T4 matter more. These show what's actually available and being used. Iodine can temporarily raise TSH, especially in the first few weeks or months. Thyroid healing isn't linear. Just because the number went up doesn't mean your function went down. How do you feel? The problem isn't the test. It's how it's interpreted, out of context, in isolation, without understanding what our body is trying to do. So breathe. Don't let one number override your lived experience. You're not a lab result. You're a system in motion in a world that doesn't exactly want you to figure this out. Chapter 9. When the Body Remembers, Emotional Detox and Memory Flashbacks. Let's get weird, but real. Iodine doesn't just clean house physically. It has a habit of kicking the door open on the emotional closet too. Old stuff. Buried stuff. Stuff we swore we were done with. It starts small. Maybe we cry during a random commercial. Maybe a song triggers a wave of grief we didn't see coming. Maybe we suddenly remember something from age 7 that hasn't crossed our mind in decades, and now it's loud. Welcome to emotional detox. This isn't some woo-woo concept. Our nervous system stores trauma. Our cells store chemical memories. And when our biology wakes up, when iodine and cofactors start recharging the lights in every dusty hallway of our inner operating system, sometimes we're going to feel it. Old memories can rise up. Emotional triggers get louder. Dreams get weird. Anxiety shows up out of nowhere. But it's not regression. It's release. Our body isn't broken, it's processing. Stuff that got stuck. Stuff that didn't get closure. Stuff that got shoved down because survival didn't allow for reflection. Some people report vivid dreams or nightmares, flashbacks, random crying or emotional overwhelm, feeling offy without knowing why, new awareness of past experiences they didn't fully process at the time. This is your nervous system untangling knots. It's your biology giving you a second chance to feel, heal, and release. Not always comfortable, but powerful as hell. So how do you handle it? Pause the protocol if needed. Give your mind time to catch up to your body. Journal. Breathe. Move. Let your emotions have a healthy exit route. Recognize what's yours and what's old. Not every feeling belongs to the present. Don't isolate. Reach out to someone who gets it, or at least won't try to fix it with a pill. Emotional detox isn't a setback. It's a sign your system is regaining access to all its files, including the ones you thought were lost. This is a good time to keep our diet clean. Petrochemical colors can shift us dramatically, especially as we are already processing something. Chapter 10: Halide Wars, Bromide, Fluoride, and the Great Cellular Eviction. If you've ever wondered why you feel like a radioactive swamp monster after starting iodine, let's introduce the real culprits, the halide freeloaders. Meet bromide and fluoride. They are chemically similar to iodine, close enough to trick our body into storing them in place of the real deal. They park themselves in our glands, our brain, our skin, then just sit there like toxic squatters, contributing absolutely nothing and occasionally setting fires. Our body didn't choose them. It was tricked. They came in through brominated bread, flame retardants in our mattress, tap water, toothpaste, Gatorade, soft drinks, and even some pharmaceuticals. Decades of exposure. Potentially generations of buildup. Then iodine shows up. And suddenly, these imposters get evicted. But they don't leave quietly. They exit kicking and screaming, through the skin, the kidneys, the lungs, and the nervous system. This is halide detox. And it can get weird. Common symptoms: rashes or itching, especially on the shins, neck, face, or back. Acne or strange skin eruptions. Anxiety or restlessness. Salty or metallic taste in the mouth. Brain fog or flu-like symptoms. Unusually vivid or disturbing dreams. This isn't iodine hurting us. It's iodine rescuing us from the residue of a toxic industrial age. Our cells were tucking this stuff away, either in an attempt to get us as far down the road as they could, or till we figure out what's going on and start providing what they need in order to catch up on the backlog. The key here is support and pacing. If our skin is freaking out, if our dreams feel like a nuclear sci-fi short film, if our mood flips like a light switch, it's time to slow down, up our unrefined salt, hydrate, and support detox pathways. Salt loading can help pull bromide through the kidneys. Vitamin C supports adrenal function and oxidative stress. Binders like activated charcoal or bentonite clay can mop up the garbage once it's loose. And remember, your body has been holding onto this junk for decades. This isn't just detox, it's renovation. We're not falling apart. We're finally clearing the sabotage. Chapter 11: Detox Tools and Cellular Terrain, Sunlight's Defense Against the Frequency Fog. As we continue this deep cleanup, it's not just about what we take, it's also about what we remove, expose ourselves to, and how we support the terrain our cells live in. Healing isn't just biochemical, it's environmental, electrical, and even photonic. Let's start with sunlight. We've been conditioned to fear it. Sunscreen everything. Avoid peak hours. Hide behind glass. But natural sunlight is one of the most fundamental inputs our biology depends on. It affects everything from our circadian rhythm to our mitochondrial charge. And more recently, research has begun connecting sunlight to bile flow, something often overlooked in detox protocols. Bile is the body's garbage truck. It helps us move out toxins, fats, hormones, and waste products. And guess what iodine kicks up? All of the above. Without adequate bile flow, we're stirring the pot without an exit strategy. But sunlight, especially morning light, can help stimulate liver and gallbladder activity. That means better digestion, better detox, and clearer signaling across the board. Daily light exposure helps. Regulate cortisol and melatonin. Improve bile flow and digestion. Support mitochondrial energy production. Reduce inflammatory burden from circadian disruption. Meanwhile, after sunset, we need to flip the switch. Blue light exposure after dark wrecks our melatonin production, scrambles sleep, and keeps our nervous system in a constant state of low-level alert. Our cells don't just need nutrients, they need rhythm. Enter blue blockers. No, not the gimmicky Instagram kind. We're talking about real, amber or red lenses after sunset. Dim red bulbs in the evening. Screens off or shifted to red tones. Give our biology darkness so it knows it's time to repair. And then there's the frequency fog, non-native EMFs from Wi-Fi routers, cell towers, Bluetooth, smart meters, and more. We don't have to live in a cave, but we do need to recognize that our cells are electrical. When we're already detoxing, already inflamed, already rewiring, this extra static makes it harder for the body to rest, recover, and rebuild. Try this. Turn off Wi-Fi at night. Keep phones as far away from the body as possible, especially during sleep. Use airplane mode liberally. Work towards an addiction with the sun. These aren't fringe concepts, they're foundational when our detox load is high. If we're trying to heal in a soup of artificial light and constant microwave radiation, we're asking ourselves to juggle while we pelt them with rocks. This chapter isn't about being perfect, it's about recognizing that healing happens faster when we remove friction. Sunlight in the morning, darkness at night, and a break from the static in between. The more we support our body's natural design, the less it needs rescue. Chapter 12. Barts, Binders, and Breakfast, the art of reducing the load. Let's get into some hands-on, real-world strategies for making this process smoother. Because while the iodine does its job stirring the pot, it's on us to make sure the junk actually gets out and doesn't just slosh around inside us. Barts are more than self-care fluff. They are an underrated detox tool that helps open up one of the largest elimination channels we have, our skin. Add a cup or two of Epsom salts to warm, not hot, water. Maybe throw in a half cup of baking soda. If tolerated, even a splash of apple cider vinegar or bentonite clay. Soak for 20 to 30 minutes. Let the skin breathe. Let the tension go. Let the lymph move. Find something that works for you and start slowly with each. This isn't about scrubbing ourselves into oblivion. It's about creating space, physically and emotionally, for the body to let go of what it no longer needs. Binders, like activated charcoal, bentonite clay, or chlorella, can be taken away from meals and supplements to catch some of the junk being mobilized by iodine. Think of them like cleanup crews walking behind demolition teams. Just be mindful, too much can cause constipation, so hydration and pacing matter. I personally don't use binders, so pay attention and don't take these just because. Take stuff that you notice helps, because otherwise what is it doing? Now, let's talk about breakfast, not in the cereal and orange juice way we were taught, but in a way that actually lowers our stress hormones. We wake up with naturally elevated cortisol. It's supposed to give us that push to get going. But in a depleted body, one under stress from detox, from inflammation, from years of imbalance, that cortisol spike can be too sharp. It leads to anxiety, irritability, and crashes later in the day. A solid, protein-rich breakfast can help blunt the cortisol wave. Think eggs, grass-fed meats, leftover dinner, something that tells our body, you're safe. You're fed. You don't need to stay in fight or flight. You've seen pathway map. Come you might have a better view of why protein is so important first thing in the morning. It's the main fuel for our nutrient engine. Reducing stress isn't about meditation apps and spa days, though those may help. It's about building our day around safety signals. Sunlight in the morning. Real food with protein and fat. Gentle movement. Time away from screens. Supportive social connection. The more safety our body perceives, the more capacity it has to detox, repair, and build. We don't heal in a state of panic. We heal when our system finally believes it can. This chapter is about creating that belief and giving our biology the tools to act on it. Chapter 13. Adrenals on empty. Why pushing through isn't healing. Adrenal fatigue isn't technically a medical diagnosis, but let's be real, whatever we want to call it, something is clearly broken. And no, it's not fixed by more coffee, more willpower, or more supplements with the wordy adaptogen in bold font. Our adrenal system regulates stress response. It keeps cortisol, blood sugar, inflammation, and energy rhythms in check. But when we're nutrient depleted, overwhelmed, and tossing iodine into the mix without proper support, our adrenals start waving a white flag. It's not always because we're doing something wrong. It's because we're finally doing something. We're waking up systems that haven't had resources in years, and they're trying to respond with what little backup they've got. Sometimes iodine feels amazing. Energy goes up. Brain fog clears. Sleep improves. But other times, especially when we push the dose too fast, it's like hitting the gas in a car with no oil. The engine revs, but the wear and tear builds fast. Large amounts of iodine can stimulate us. They can push us through exhaustion, giving a temporary feeling of power and clarity. But it comes at a cost, usually one we feel later when the cortisol crash hits, the brain fog returns, or we suddenly need a nap at 10 a.m. It's not that iodine is a baddie for the adrenals. It's that it's powerful. And if we stimulate metabolism without supporting the systems that regulate that metabolism, like the adrenals, we end up overclocked and undercovered. Here's how we support the adrenals. Keep iodine low and steady while rebuilding the foundation. Prioritize protein and fat at breakfast to reduce cortisol spikes. Get morning sunlight. It anchors our cortisol rhythm. Reduce stimulants. Yes, even a clean pre-workouts. Rest before we crash. It's okay to care about ourselves. Remember emotional stress counts, too, especially the stuff we think we're used to, like television, TikTok, or Tina running her dang mouth. Pushing through isn't healing. It's spending energy we haven't earned yet. If we want to truly heal, we stop asking how much more can I do, and start asking what would help me feel safer, more supported, and more regulated today. That's how we rebuild, not just the thyroid, but the whole system. Chapter 14. How much to take, finding the edge without falling off. Let's talk dosage. This is where most people get confused, overconfident, or just plain wrecked. Because iodine is not like anything we've taken before. It's not a casual part of a wellness routine. It's a system-wide signal, a mobilizer, a disruptor. It wakes things up that haven't moved in years, and if we're not paying attention, it can be a bulldozer plowing through unprepared terrain. So where do we start? Start low. Start slow. Start with intent. We usually recommend starting with 1 drop of 2% Lugol solution. That's less than 2.5 milligrams of iodine iodide combined. For many of us, that's the first real iodine our system has seen in decades, or maybe ever. Then we wait. Not 10 minutes. Not until we feel something. We wait days. Sometimes a week. We observe. We hydrate. We support detox pathways. We stay curious. As we build up, we go 1 drop at a time. 1 layer at a time. 1 system at a time. Eventually, we may run into something. That might be itchy skin, especially on the shins. hair shedding or texture changes, feeling a wired but tired, brain fog or emotional volatility. This is not failure. This is the edge, the point where iodine has unearthed something our body can't yet keep up with. This is when we pause, not push. Many try to power through. They megadose. They go from 1 drop to 50. They call it a detox when it's really just stimulation, burning through reserves we haven't built yet. The smart move? We step back. We lower the dose. We support with cofactors. We add protein, salt, sunlight, sleep. We give the body what it needs to catch up. There's no prize for going fastest. The win is in sustainability. In having enough energy to wake up, think clearly, digest food, and handle life like a human again. The goal is not to take iodine consistently forever. The goal is to restore function so that we need less support, not more. That's the art. Find the edge, then back off just enough to build from it. Chapter 15. The long game. When to pause, reset, and actually listen. Here's where it gets real. Most of us don't need to keep pushing more iodine. We need more clarity, more awareness, more patience. The real growth often happens when we stop for a bit and see what settles. There comes a point in this process where the smartest move isn't going forward, it's pausing. Giving our cells time to catch their breath. Letting the dust settle. Letting the changes we've triggered integrate and stabilize. Because here's the truth, if we keep increasing iodine without knowing whether it's helping, we're not healing, we're gambling. We're burning through resources without knowing if anything's landing, mistaking stimulation for progress, and missing the subtle signals our body is trying to give us. Pausing isn't regression. It's strategy. Sometimes we need to stop iodine entirely for a week. Or a month. Sometimes we stay at 1 drop for 2 months to really learn what that drop is doing. Because when we pause, we can finally tell. Are we actually improving? Are we more grounded and stable? Are things easier, or just louder? Are we supporting with food, light, sleep, or just supplements? If we feel stuck or overwhelmed, like nothing is clicking or everything is a fog, this is the time to push reset on the reset. Step back. Get a clean head. Let the adrenaline wear off. Rebuild trust with our system. We can come back to iodine later, better prepared, more tuned in, and with a stronger foundation beneath us. The amount of iodine we've taken by the time we're taking a break is likely enough to carry us a few months. Keep in mind how much iodine we're able to get from these drops compared to what we were getting before learning about iodine. This journey isn't about constantly doing. It's about knowing when to pause, when to support, and when to coast. Healing doesn't always feel productive. Sometimes it feels like nothing at all is happening, until one day we realize we're stable, calm, and actually living again. And that's the long game, building a body we can live in, comfortably, clearly, and confidently. Let's talk about how that feels, how to sustain it, and how to help others get here too. Welcome to Iodine. What's next? If this book gave you more questions than answers, good. That means you're thinking, feeling, and finally digging into the terrain mainstream health forgot to mention. This isn't the end of the journey, it's a launch pad. To keep learning, go to whyiodine.com. You'll find write-ups, explanations, graphics, and tools to help you better understand how iodine fits into your nutrient engine and how to keep rebuilding it. And if you want community, connection, and 24/7 real-life experience, join over 60,000 of us in the Iodine for Beginners Facebook group. Just about every question has been asked and answered, often with charts, sarcasm, and some really smart weirdos who've been through it all. You don't have to figure this out alone. We're all decoding this puzzle together, one drop at a time.